UFC Vegas 105, Josh Emmett versus Lerone Murphy. This is the Funk and Flex MMA preview and prediction show. While you're here, drop a like on the thumbs up button below. Hit subscribe if you're new to the channel. This is the Wednesday preview and prediction show. We got Friday's betting breakdown coming to you guys. 2 videos in the weekly content section. I've been consistent. We're coming off of a 10-2 week last week. After a couple of weeks where a little was left to be desired, I feel dialed in going into Vegas 105 with the massive pay-per-view in UFC 314 coming to Miami that I will be at live. Looking very much forward to breaking that card down for you guys next week. Until then, we got a little bit of a, I don't want to call it a snoozer, but a lesser card in UFC Vegas 105. So we won't waste any time as we'll go over the recap for last week on Friday's video. And we'll jump into the first fight of the night with Vanessa Demopoulos and Talia Alencar. For me, this one, I got to go with Vanessa Demopoulos. Even though I'm not very high on either one of these girls, I think Demopoulos is going to be able to stuff the takedowns of Alencar, where Alencar really needs to get the fight. Her hands are clunky, and I think, well, Demopoulos doesn't have much power. Her tactical striking and speed in the hand should be enough to get this one done. We're going to start off with a Demopoulos pick. Going to the next fight of the night, Victor Henry versus Pedro Falcao. Falcao fighting Victor Hugo in his UFC debut. And well, it's been over a year. He did look good against a promising prospect in Victor Hugo. Victor Henry's another tough fight, though. They're not doing Falcao any favors. And I don't like it at minus 220, but I think that Victor Henry's volume in the striking department is going to be enough to get it done. I think he'll be able to stuff the takedown similar to Demopoulos. And Falcao is really another fighter that kind of relies on his ground game. I got to go Henry to get this one done, though. Let him stuff the takedowns and probably win a close decision. Not one that's worth touching at this crazy of a money line, though. Up next, Loma Laboon versus Estela Nunez. And Estela Nunez has some very good power for this 114 weight class, is very capable of putting people out. And as a lot of people are saying on the internet, the best winless striker that you'll see in this women's division. But they're giving her a tough matchup with Loma. And I think that Loma's live to get this one done. Minus 600 favorite. As long as she can survive the power from Estela Nunez early on. Estela Nunez is an absolute gas bag in the second round. And Loma, a very talented and experienced Muay Thai fighter. I think that she's going to look very sharp in this one. And I wouldn't be surprised to see a rare women's MMA finish, which hasn't been so rare this year. We've been seeing more and more. Loma with the striking advantage for sure. Wouldn't be surprised to see her mix in the grappling. Nonetheless, Loma is going to be the pick in this spot. Moving along, we have Reese McKee versus Daniel Franza. Reese McKee, like some of these other fighters, definitely fighting for his job here. And I think that's going to be enough to get this one done over a guy. And Daniel Franza, who I was not impressed with on his Contender Series debut, they're giving him a minus 170 price tag here. Struggling against Kriev, who is not UFC level. Kriev gave him some real problems in the first round and then just absolutely gassed, which is the only reason that Franza was able to get a finish, as he was absolutely outmatched in that fight. I think Reese McKee is going to do the same thing here. He's a dog. He can take a punch, and I think Franza is going to have to take punches to give him here with the reach disadvantage, 5 inches, and a height advantage for Reese McKee. I like him as a dog in this spot. Give me Reese McKee as the pick, fighting for his job at a plus money. Solid underdog pick for this card. Up next, Diana Belbita versus Diane Barbosa, and this is the exact opposite. When I made this graphic, it was minus 650. The line has grown all the way to minus 1,000 plus, and I think that's for a valid reason. Diana Belbita was subbed by Molly McCann in her last fight, and that really speaks for itself. I won't waste too much time on this breakdown, as Diane Barbosa has very, very good grappling and looks like she's being given a layup here in Diana Belbita. I think Diane Barbosa gets it done here. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a KO either. Even though Belbita's not a bad striker by any means, Barbosa has some serious pop in her shots, and I just think she's the right pick in this spot. Davy Grant versus Daniel Santos in our next matchup. I don't know, something about these dogs on this card, something about the dogs this year, but I like Davy Grant at 39 years old. A lot of people think that he's washed, and that's probably why he's got a plus 135 price tag. But he hasn't looked washed so far in the cage. With the KO against, or sorry, with a strong performance, not a KO, a strong decision win against Ramon Tavares in his last fight in Miami, where he was able to check another one of these young prospects with an over decade age difference. This one's much closer, 9 years, at least a 5 year closer age difference in Daniel Santos. Even though he's the fresher UFC fighter, Santos has left a lot to be desired and has taken a lot of time off, whereas Davy Grant fought in Tampa at the end of last year in December. I think Davy Grant's another live dog in this spot, can cancel the grappling of Santos, and I think that he's going to be the more mobile fighter. I know the Apex cage is smaller, might be a problem for Grant. Hasn't really been so far, and I think that he's going to be able to manage the distance and land the better strikes on the feet. And then if the fight gets to the ground, he's good enough to win the grappling exchanges or at least survive them to get back to the feet. Give me Davy Grant for a dog pick in the spot. Up next, the featured fight on the prelims is Ode Osborne versus Louis Garule. I'm going to go Garule in the spot, even though I think Ode Osborne is another one that's fighting for his job. I think Garule is better everywhere except for the distance striking. I think Ode Osborne's live to get an early KO at range, but other than that, got absolutely out-grappled and dominated by Ronaldo Rodriguez in his last fight after cracking him. He could crack Garule and not get the finish in a similar spot. I just think Garule is going to be able to close the distance, land the bigger strikes, land the takedowns, and win a fight, probably by decision in this one. Give me Louis Garule as the pick. Up next, Torres Finney versus Robert Valentine. And this one is a very tough spot for me, as I have a lot of question marks on Torres Finney. I don't like laying a minus 265 price tag here, but I think that he is the spot in this, is the pick in this spot, as Valentine is someone that does probably have the better striking in this matchup, but Torres Finney very good on top, and bro, he has no neck. He cannot be submitted unless it's an armbar or something, which he's a very muscular dude, obviously very strong for 185 pounds, short, stocky wrestler at 5'8". I think that I like Torres Finney in this spot, but it's not a very confident pick, especially not at this price tag. We'll have to see how he makes his debut at this 185-pound division in the UFC, and after he matches some competition that, can hang with him on the ground, that has some skills. And I think Valentine does have some skills, but I like the skills of Torres better in this spot. So he will be the pick in this one, although this fight's probably not going to get any of my money put on it. Moving along, a matchup between Brad Tavares and GM3, a battle of the journeymen in this spot, and Tavares probably gets this one done by decision, but I think it's a coin flip fight, and at plus 200 odds, I'm going to pick GM3. He can be the pick even for the channel, as I just tend to have made more money on GM3. I think he's got more dog in him, and he's more likely to get a finish. So Brad Tavares might just push him up against the cage, but I like GM3 in those spots to maybe land a trip and then get his grappling working on the ground. He is definitely the way better grappler. I think the striking is close, maybe favors Tavares a little bit, but the biggest skill set difference and advantage leans to Mearshart in the grappling department. So if he can get it there, he's going to make it look easy at plus 200. Up next, Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Martin Buday. And since Nzechukwu's moved up at heavyweight, he has looked absolutely dominant. I know a lot of people online aren't fully sold on him yet. A lot of experts aren't fully sold on him yet. But I'm one of the few that is. I really like him in this spot against Martin Buday, who's just a fat dude that likes to lay on people. No judgment. He would probably absolutely destroy me in a cage match. Not even probably. But that being said, Nzechukwu's not me. And he does have long limbs, 83-inch reach, and he is just really filled into his frame very nicely at the heavyweight division. The speed advantage, no question. I think that he has the power advantage in this spot, and he really only seems to struggle against extremely technical strikers, which we don't have a lot of at the heavyweight division. So he could make a little run here. I like him a lot in this spot against a lackluster Martin Budai. Give me Kennedy Nzechukwu as a confident pick for this week's spot. Cortavius Ramius and Chang Ho Lee matchup in our featured fight of the main card. This is a Dana White Contender Series versus a Road to UFC Asia, and those fighters from Road to UFC have not looked as great in the octagon in the UFC as they have on the show. So we really don't know what we're going to get out of Chang Ho Lee. He did struggle in the Road to UFC Championship, which gives me some, concerns. Cortavius Romius is not someone that I've been impressed or, someone that's shown me a skill set that's worthy of betting on. But I like him as a pick in this spot just because I like to fade the Road to UFC. And I think Contender Series guys are better. I like Cortavius' explosive wrestling. Chang Ho Lee does have some decent grappling, but neither one of these guys is great striking. So do with that what you will. Chang Ho Lee does look good in the clinch with throwing the knees up, elbows. He does stay active in the clinch, and that's the one thing that concerns me is if Cortavius isn't able to get the takedowns, how he's going to look in the clinch against Chang Ho Lee. But I like Cortavius Ramius to get the takedowns and probably win this one by decision. Moving along to the co-main event, we have Pat Sabatini and Joe Anderson Brito. This one I'm going Brito. A lot of people are fading him, and really I think this is a discounted price tag, so I'm surprised. But because of his performance against Gomes, where he kind of gassed and looked out of place, but Gomes is and only at the end of the fight really he looked that way. But Gomes is a long fighter that likes to fight at range and really pick his shots. Sabatini's a brawler, just like Joe Anderson Brito. And while he's live to get a takedown and create some problems at any time, I think Brito's grappling is good enough to cancel out any offensive submissions from Pat Sabatini. Unless somehow he gets his back, that's the only way I can see Sabatini winning this. Brito by KO early on is a pretty confident pick here. I like Brito striking, and he is a tough dog that'll fight for your money. Obviously not underdog price here, but he's got that dog spirit in him, and he will be the pick in the co-main event. Another confident one here in Joe Anderson Brito. That brings us to the main event, Josh Emmett versus Lerone Murphy. I'm going Lerone Murphy here. I know Josh Emmett's taken some needed time off and is talking like he's very confident coming into this match, and he should be, coming off of the stellar knockout, one of the knockouts of the year against Bryce Mitchell. He should feel that way. The thing is, I like Lerone Murphy's chin, and I like how he manages his distance and defense. He's a very good point-fighting kickboxer, and Josh Emmett, I think, will struggle to get this one done, as Lerone Murphy's only gotten better and continued to get better at his grappling and wrestling. Minus 340 price tag isn't pretty against someone like Josh Emmett who can put you out in one punch, but I do like the spot here for Lerone Murphy, at least for now, keeping his undefeated record. We'll see how he fares against some of the top level of this division, but he's a good bet in this spot. That'll wrap up this preview and prediction show. As always, I really appreciate all the support and love coming off of a 10-2 week. If you show me some love in the comments, I appreciate it. Just why don't you just send me your favorite play that you had last week or your biggest bet that you hit. You don't have to include any numbers, but just let me know what the play was. I love momentum, and it's what keeps this channel going, is you guys succeeding too. I almost enjoy the success of others from this channel than I enjoy my own financial success. So take that for what it is. I'm locked in for this UFC Vegas 105, 314 coming up soon too. So make sure you subscribe so you're dialed in for each one of these preview and prediction shows and the betting breakdowns that come out weekly, Wednesday and Friday nights. Other than that, I'll catch you all on Friday for the betting breakdown. Have a great rest of your week and stay funky.